Now, you're going to have some people who will tell you that the reason why the children of Israel gave tithes is because they did not have money. Any of y'all ever heard that? Say, well, children of Israel didn't have money, and this is the reason why they tithe. Well, according to the Bible, that's not true. The question is, did Israel have money? And the answer is yes, Israel did have money. Gold and precious stones was in the Garden of Eden, Genesis chapter 2, verse 11 through 12. Abraham was rich in cattle, silver, and gold, Genesis chapter 13, verse 2. And in Genesis chapter 24 and verse 35. Israel paid a bride's dowry. When a man was about to get a wife, he would pay a dowry, and sometimes that dowry would be gold and silver. That's in Genesis chapter 24 and verse 22, Exodus chapter 22 and verse 17. Israel paid fines with money. If they committed an offense, some of the civil consequences was you had to pay a fine. Well, how did you pay that fine? That fine was paid with silver and gold and precious stones. Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 19, Exodus chapter 21 and verse 35. Jacob's sons, y'all remember during the days of the famine, Jacob's sons had to go to Egypt, and they paid Pharaoh, they gave him silver in exchange for wheat, because it was the time of the famine. That's in Genesis chapter 44 and verse 8. When Israel conquered a nation, they took the gold and the silver of that nation. That's in Joshua chapter 6 and verse 24, Joshua chapter 22 and verse 8. King David gave offerings of gold and silver to the temple, 2 Samuel chapter 8 and verse 11. Other nations brought gold and silver to King Solomon, 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 25. Israel came out of Egypt with gold, Exodus chapter 3 and verse 22. Israel was commanded not to make gods of gold, Exodus chapter 20 and verse 23. Various objects and furniture in the temple was covered with gold. I mean, we talking about the ark was literally covered in real gold. Kings of Israel exacted tribute money and also paid tribute money to other nations. Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 4, Matthew chapter 22 and verse 19. Lending and borrowing money was common in Israel, Genesis chapter 23 and verse 19. The children of Israel paid money for food and water from the children of Israel, the children of Esau rather, and that's in Deuteronomy chapter 2 and verse 4 through 6. Servants were bought with money, Genesis chapter 17 and verse 12. Joseph was sold into slavery for 20 pieces of silver, Genesis chapter 37 and verse 28. Jesus, we get into the New Testament. Jesus talks about a man who gave his servant talents. If you look up that word talents, it was actually money. Matthew chapter 25 and verse 15. Jesus and his disciples paid taxes to Caesar. Matthew chapter 22 and verse 19. Jesus was betrayed for what? 30 pieces of silver, right? Matthew chapter 27 and verse 3. The early church sold their land for money, laid them at the apostles' feet. Acts chapter 4 and verse 37. Paul instructs the assembly to eat what is sold in the shambles. Well, how are you going to buy what's sold in the shambles? With money. 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 25. So we see this. Now I'm gonna say something, and I don't mean to belittle anybody. But when a preacher comes to me and tells me that Israel didn't have money, I'm like, you mean to tell me you went to seminary school and you don't know this? You went to, you a pastor and you don't know this? Where you been? And these are people who got 100 members, 1,000 members, and I'm like, and this is basic. This is stuff you should have learned the first year in seminary school. Matter of fact, you should have learned this while you was going to Sunday school or Sabbath school. You should have learned this the first year you've been saved, and you've been in the church 20 years and you don't know this. Just a casual reading of the Bible, and a person will come to the comprehension that Israel actually had money. And I just given y'all almost 30 scriptures where Israel had money. A lot of money, actually. A whole lot of money. The matter of fact, the temple I'm gonna go, oh my goodness. The temple had so much gold that when the Babylonians conquered Israel, what did they do? They actually went in the temple and took all those treasuries out of the temple and brought it with them to Babylon. So when people say this, I have to cringe because I'm like, man, you obviously you're not properly reading the Bible. And that's sad because you're supposed to be a preacher, you're supposed to be a pastor, you're supposed to be a bishop or a so-called apostle. You claim that you are a messenger of God. And one of the things that I say, if you are truly a messenger of God, the truth is supposed to be in your lips. God's messengers do not lie. God's messengers are not mistaken. Let's keep going. Was money ever used as tithes in Israel? Do we have any verses in the Bible from Genesis all the way to Malachi? Matter of fact, from Genesis all the way to Revelation, is there any verses in the Bible that shows that money was used as tithes to go to the Levites? And the answer is no. God never commanded Israel to pay tithes in the form of currency or any other precious metals.